Over the last several years, we have been hearing a lot about the wall. In fact, I recall hearing chants, build the wall, build the wall, build the wall. You all heard those chants. And of course, now we have Joe Biden as president, and his chant is take down the wall, take down the wall, take down the wall. We have been advocating building the wall at least since the 1980s. It's nice to see a lot of people get a hold of the idea that we need a wall between this country and Mexico, but perhaps between this country and the rest of the world. A country without borders that we know is not a country. A while back, I saw a marquee in front of a church, and the marquee just said simply, people spend more time building walls and not enough time building bridges. Well, that's nice. Let me repeat it. The marquee said, people spend more time building walls and not enough time building bridges. And I don't know the motives behind the pastor who had that displayed in front of a church right here in Harrison. I don't know the motives behind the pastor who had that displayed in front of a church. But I get the idea that the thought of building a bridges should make you feel good. It just makes you feel you're building a bridge to people. And that's supposed to make you feel good. You're building a bridge. And so churches are going to build bridges to reach out to people. Most churches, if they could build a bridge, a pipeline straight to Cambodia or straight to Zimbabwe or straight to Congo, they probably would do that. Because bridges are so wonderful, it makes you feel good. Who wants walls? Walls are terrible. Oh, shut yourself off from the world. But bridges make you feel good. That's what we're being told by that little sign. And by the attitude, and by the conduct, and by the sermons, and by the articles, and by the TV preachers, and the small-town preachers. That's the idea you get. You shouldn't be building bridges or walls between people. You're supposed to build a bridge, don't you know? It's like a group hug to the world. I mean, what's wrong with that? I mean, we should just go out here. If our arms are long enough, we should put our arms around the whole world, just draw them in and give them a big old hug. Ooh, that'd be so great. So build a bridge. And because walls indicate anger, and walls indicate indignation against people and separation. That's bad, separation. Don't want separation. Hug, group hug. I should title the sermon, How to Have a Group Hug. I don't know. Walls and bridges. So I don't know this pastor. I don't know what his intentions were. But I get the impression that he's telling us that walls are cold and they're impersonal. And but bridges are warm and friendly. And in the background music, you can hear Kumbala playing softly, melody coming through the trees and forests. And we all have this gigantic group hug. It should just be a wonderful life for everybody. But plus, bridges like being like Christ, don't you know? Bridges are being like Jesus. We all want to be like Jesus. So bridges are being like Jesus, reaching out to the world. And I looked up in the dictionary. Now, different dictionaries will give different interpretation. I understand that. This particular dictionary I looked at, they define a wall as a structure that defines an area, carries a load, provides. Wait, is that a wall? Or I might be reading the wrong thing. Provides security, shelter in an area. Okay, that's right. Okay, that's a wall. Kind of separates and provides protection in a certain area. A bridge, what I found, is a bridge is a structure built to span a physical obstacle, such as a body of water, or a valley, or a road. And so that's a bridge. You're reaching out to this other deal. And I think when you look at this phrase about walls and bridges, I think what the church is talking about relationships with people. I think it's referring to. And the word bridge However, it doesn't appear in the Bible at all. There's no place in the Bible. For a concept that's supposed to be so wonderful, there's no place in the Bible that even uses the word bridge. There's probably a word that used that is not, that will correspond with bridge. I don't know. I'm sure there is. But the word bridge itself doesn't appear in the Bible. The word wall appears 163 times in the King James Version. Wall. And walls, the plural, is 63 times. 163 for the word wall, and 63 times for the word walls in the King James Version. So I think the pastor of this church is trying to say that through the sign on his outside his marquee, that when dealing with people, build a bridge to people, don't put up walls. And that's how we should relate to people. I guess I don't have really too much of a disagreement with that. I don't think as Christians we should go on purposely trying to offend people. Now, there may be some occasion we might want to offend somebody. I don't know. Last week, Caleb takes art lessons. And there was another person there who I think may be a liberal, but I don't know that he is. He may not be. It's just a little gut feeling I had. And Caleb was painting a picture of this building that has a Confederate flag on it. And I say to Caleb, and this person's standing just about 3 feet over, I said, Caleb, next time you paint this picture, paint the Confederate flag bigger. I said, remember, if you're going to offend somebody, make sure they're offended. Do it a big way. So I don't know what this person may have thought about that, but my advice to Caleb was, if you're going to offend somebody, make sure you do it right. But obviously you don't want to offend people needlessly. That's not what we're about, defending people needlessly. So I don't know about the pastor of the church. I don't know what his thoughts were. Here's your relationship with people. I understand that in families you want to build bridges. You want to build walls in your family. And with friends, you want to build walls with friends. Because we could easily build a wall between all of us because we're all different. We all have different personalities. We all have things that we like and things we don't like. And some of our friends may not like the things that we like and vice versa. So, we don't want to build walls needlessly and things like that. We do want to have bridges deal with Christians and so forth. But, when you talk about walls and bridges, you're not just talking about it's a general concept. You got family, you got friends, but you also got non-Christians, build bridges, walls. Well, it depends who they are. I don't want a bridge to Nancy Pelosi, as an example. But somebody who may be confused and don't understand their identity and don't understand the issues of race, but that's basically a good person. You want to build a relationship with them and help them understand things. I understand that. And then you got areas, you got other races and how they relate to each other. How do we relate with other races and other nations and so on. So just to make a statement, just a blanket statement, we need more bridges. It can be scriptural, but it can also be unscriptural. It's not necessarily scriptural to build bridges. Sometimes more scriptural to build a wall. And the definition I gave to the word bridge, even though this is kind of long, the dictionary, I just gave a brief definition. I made this up myself. A bridge is a connection between two opposites. That's the definition I gave. A bridge is a connection between two opposites. And so that opposites could vary, though. I mean, again, that could be, it depends on what you're thinking about. Rachel's supposed to speak this morning, but she's sick. So I'm kind of going through here, hit and miss. Let me see. If there's no opposites, there's no need for a bridge. That makes sense, doesn't it? If it's not an opposite, there's no, you don't need a bridge between that wall and this wall. I mean, I guess the floor is a bridge, I guess in a sense, but you don't need a bridge. There are opposites of thoughts and opposites of ideas, that maybe you want to build a bridge because you want to come to an agreement, and perhaps you want to have some type of a learning experience because you can learn from other people, even though they disagree with you. things. You can learn from them, because they may be right in some areas. But it all depends. I don't think I'm going to have a discussion with homosexuals. I want to know how you feel. I want to feel that. No. So we're not going to have that kind of bridges. But somebody who is a Christian, a good person, who may think differently, you may want to understand what they're thinking. If no other reason, because you can help understand. If you know what they're thinking, you know how to approach the subject better. So there are good bridges. There's bad bridges. Everyone is different. There are good walls. There are bad walls. Just to say we need to build a bridge and not walls is really pretty childish. It's a really very childish thinking. We need to build bridges, not walls. It's very childish. A lot of variables are taken into account in there. Now, I've got only one deal on a PowerPoint here, so I'm going to put that verse up right now. There it is. We're all familiar with that one. To everything, there's a season. A time to build a wall and a time to tear down a wall. A time to build a bridge. It's not in there, but that's what we're talking about. And time to tear down a bridge. A time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. And time to build bridges and time to build walls. So let's look at some good bridges for the individual. In family, you need bridges in a family. I don't have this up on the PowerPoint here, but Exodus 20:12. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. It's a bridge. But it means, the way I look at it, you may see it differently. The way I look at it, it does not necessarily mean what 99% of churches are going to tell you it means. They're all going to tell you, and what they're telling you is correct, but they're limiting it. They're going to say you should honor your mom and dad. And you should honor them. And if dad wants you to bring home a pizza from town, he should be able to say, Dad, you want to be stopped at Pizza Hut? Yes, Jason. Oh, I'm sorry. So anyway, honor your father and your mother. But it means more than that. It means more than that. That thy days may be long upon the land. Our days as a people are not long upon this land any longer. Would you agree? We're experiencing enormous amount of attempt for white genocide called cancel culture. People used to say, and maybe still do, where's this white genocide at? It's everywhere. We as a people, in the natural sense, our days don't appear to be long upon this land. Why is that? Because we don't honor our fathers and mothers. We don't honor our heritage. We don't honor our grandma and grandpa and great-grandpa and great, and we don't all that whole bloodline, the whole heritage that come down from generation after generation after generation to this hour. We don't honor that any longer. We don't honor our racial mothers and fathers. So he said, if you don't honor your family, your racial family, your days will not be long upon the land. So, honor your heritage. Forgive each other. I think that's a bridge we should understand. We have a responsibility. Not only a responsibility, we actually have a commandment. It's beyond a responsibility. It's a command. You're commanded to forgive. You're commanded. It's not an option. It's not a choosing. I don't feel like forgiving. You're commanded to forgive. But again, you got to take it into context. That verse about forgiving and so forth, loving your neighbor, from the amount of where Christ is talking to the Beatitudes and so on. He's talking to the church. He's talking to the believers. We have a responsibility to forgive. I don't think he's not talking about those who are the judge, because we don't have the authority to forgive somebody who violated God's moral law. I can forgive somebody who violated my little space It made me angry. I have the authority and the commandment to forgive. But I don't have the authority to forgive somebody who violated God's moral laws. Someone who's a homosexual or a race mixer, who violated God's integrity, his moral laws. I don't have the authority to forgive them. And so for people to say, well, you should forgive everybody. No, there's some people you can't forgive because you don't have the authority to forgive them. And those people who say you should forgive the homosexual, even though I'm a sinner, he's a sinner, so we have to understand we're all sinners, and we need to forgive him. No, that's awful arrogant. It's awful arrogant to think we can forgive somebody who only God has responsibility for that. We don't have the authority. But, we can forgive each other. That's a good bridge. Christ demonstrated that forgiveness on the cross. We understand. Also, we must understand forgiveness is not only something we do for others, something we actually do for ourselves. Because it's important, because if you do not forgive, you're told, if you do not forgive, then you can't expect God's forgiveness. Remember that guy with the talents? And he owed his master like 10,000 talents of gold or whatever it was. And he begged the master to forgive him because the master could have put him in jail, And he begged and he whined and carried on. Oh, I can't pay you and so on. And the master said, okay, well, tell you what, I'll forgive you. Go on your way, you're forgiven. And then what did he do? Now, he's no more out the door. He finds somebody who owes him a small amount of money, and he wouldn't forgive that person who also asked for forgiveness. He wouldn't forgive that person. And so he made that person go to jail. And when the main guy found out, hey, I forgave you, but you would not forgive him, now wait a minute, he said, it don't work that way. You're commanded to forgive. That's a good bridge. Just because you forgive someone doesn't mean they're going to become your best buddy. Because we do forgive, but our humanity doesn't allow us to forget, unfortunately. So sometimes, when I say forgive someone, it doesn't mean that, okay, I forgive you, and come on, hang out here, we'll have a barbecue. It doesn't necessarily mean they become your buddy. We understand that, but we do have a responsibility and a commandment to forgive. Down. Of course, we know the metaphor that God built a bridge between heaven and earth with the cross. We understand that bridge. Romans 5:8 says, God showed his great love for us in that this way Christ died for us while we were yet sinners. Talk about a powerful bridge to connect holiness to sin, is that we could reach, that he could reach to us, we could reach out to him. So those are good bridges. There are bad bridges, though. And these bad bridges we don't want to avoid. A bridge, anything connects two opposites. Anything that would connect God's kingdom with the satanic rebellion would be a bad bridge. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, we're told, but against these principalities, powers, and spiritual wickedness in high places. We don't want a connection with that. So we don't build that connection. Ephesians 6:11 says, put on the whole armor of God. We're all familiar with that. We read it a lot here. Put on the whole armor of God. Apostle Paul, he's giving some practical advice. He's not just trying to say some religious platitudes. Well, this sounds good. He's giving some real advice here. And if we look at this world we're in now and the hatred that is mounting and growing day by day by day, we need that armor of God. Put on the whole armor of God that he can stand against the wiles of the devil. I don't know. I don't think I have the strength within me to overcome or conquer this evil out here. That's why he put on the armor of God. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that you can be able to withstand in the evil day. And then Paul says speaking about bad bridges. He's in 2 Corinthians 6:14. Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. I mean, trying to build a bridge to unbelievers would be wrong. Now, I guess we could digress a little bit and try to define what that bridge means. If it means polite or treat honestly, even an unbeliever, you treat them honestly, you treat them fairly. So I understand that. So there is that bridge connection. I understand that. We want to be a good witness to people, so that's a bridge connection. But we don't build a bridge that interlocked us together. That's why we'll probably never actually do it, but I joke sometimes. Most churches have a sign, everybody welcome. If we ever put a sign similar to that down on our road, we would say everybody is not welcome. Because there are certain people that are not welcome at this church. It's just that simple. They will not be welcome. And so we're not going to have a connection. We're not going to have a connection with homosexuals or race mixers. We're not going to have them sitting in our pews here. We're not going to have them have influence over our children or influence over adults. Be mentors to people. No, we're not going to do that. So that is a bridge we will not build. We want to keep that wall up. So in that verse, 2 Corinthians 6:14 continues, be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? Well, I mean, really, what fellowship? I mean, that's in a get out of maybe out of a religious context. That's why we had this balkanization going on in the country. That's why people are moving away from the areas where they don't feel a connection with this unrighteousness that surrounds them. They want to get it. They see, that's why people white flight. People moving to the blacks, non-whites moving to there. White people move out. They don't feel the connection. There's no righteous connection there. We're a different people, different spirit, different everything about us is different. We don't feel a connection. What fellowship has righteousness with unrighteousness? There is no fellowship. And so we pack our bags, we move further into the suburbs, we move into the country, we move into another state. We move because we don't feel any connection to this unrighteousness that is surrounding our communities and our homes. And he said, what communion has light with darkness? Same thing. What communion? None. What concord or agreement hath Christ with Baal? Or what part hath he that believeth with an infidel? And what agreement hath the temple of God with idols? For you are the temple of the living God. And I know we're not going to take time to go into this now. When he said you are the temple of the living God, he's not talking about you as a person. Maybe you as a person would be in a context there. I know sometimes we refer to ourselves, the body being our temple. But when Paul talked to Corinthians, he's talking to Israelites. We find that in the 10th chapter. He's talking to fellow white people. And he's telling them, you are the temple of God. We find that even, I think, Deuteronomy 30, I believe. Israel, these covenant people that God made a covenant with, they're referred to as a temple of God. Our people, our race, even in their wickedness, they are the temple of God. And he said, what agreement has this temple with idols? You are the temple of the living God. As God has said, I will dwell in them. Who did he say that? He says that to Israel. I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. You read that's the whole context there, referring to our people. You shall be my people, our race. Wherefore come out from among them, and be separate. Build a wall. What Paul is saying? Build a wall. Come out from among them. Move if you have to. Get into a different state if you have to. Get maybe another job if you have to. Get your children away from them. Get them out of public school into private school if you can. Do whatever you can. Get away from them. Build a wall, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. Will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, saith the Lord Almighty. Who's he talking to? He's talking to Israel. Your people. Our people. He's telling him, be separate. Build a wall. Segregation, some people call it. In Ezekiel, he says, tells a watchman, he said, he put a watchman on a wall to keep an eye out for the enemy. Probably keep out for someone who wants to build a bridge. I can't have a wall around the city, protect the gates, and some guys say, oh, let's build a bridge over down in there, so they can come up the ramparts easier. No. Paul's talking to our people. The temple of God has been placed within us. We are indeed his people. In Exodus 29:45, and I will dwell among the children of Israel. I said a few minutes ago, Deuteronomy 30, Exodus 29. I'll dwell in them, we just read that. I'll dwell in them, we read Exodus 29:45, and I will dwell among the children of Israel. He doesn't say, I'll dwell among the Negroes, I'll dwell among the Chinese, I'll dwell among the Cambodians, I'll dwell among the Mexicans, I'll dwell among Mestizos, I'll dwell not among any of them two mentions, but I'll dwell among my people, Israel. That's why our people, Christendom, is found among our people. Leviticus 26:11. I'll set my tabernacle. God is talking to Israel, your ancestors, talking to you. I will set my tabernacle among you, and my soul shall not abhor you, and I will walk among you, and I will be your God, and ye shall be my people. What other race in the world, in your strongest imagination, can you even imagine that would be referring to? I will set my tabernacle among you. Every street corner in America has a church on it. You talk about a tabernacle, we got tabernacles all over the place. Same in Europe. Now I know that they're have slid and they're fallen into sin. I know that. But when they're built because this was the people of God. He's dwelling among them. You're not going to go to Africa and find a church in every street corner. These people that he's referring to was Israel brethren. And that's what we're talking to. You build walls among to protect yourself and protect your children, protect your environment, protect your society. So when a foreign object comes into your society, into your environment, you eject it. I mean, even our body does that, doesn't it? What happens when you get a foreign disease enters your body? What happens? All the white blood cells gather together, right? All the white blood cells come in and they eject that foreign object. They're saying, oh, we're going to build a bridge to cancer. No, don't do that. It doesn't work that way. So we're going to close. He tells Israel, the temple of God, our people, the temple of God. He wants our people to protect ourselves, to protect our homeland, protect our nation, protect our families, protect our environment, protect our faith, protect our heritage, protect our culture. We do all that by building walls against anything that would destroy it, anything that would attack it, anything that would weaken it, anything that would be like a termite to it, anything that would corrupt it. We don't protect ourselves. We build a wall to that. But within our own family, within our own people, even those who may don't have an understanding of the things we're talking about today, but people are just good people. Well, yeah, I can see building a bridge to them and working with them and helping them show in a kind and Christian, respectful, decent manner their responsibility, their obligation as a son and daughter of Israel. And yet that corrupting influence, you build a wall. So the idea that we're going to build bridges and not walls is childish and is a sure recipe for disaster. And we're facing it today. We're facing it today because too many people among our nation have been building bridges to the enemy instead of building walls.